Welcome back to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today we are doing something that I am honestly incredibly excited about.
Yeah, it's a bit different today.
It is. It really feels a bit like we're breaking the rules, you
A
know.
little bit, yeah.
Usually we have a stack of white papers or a whole new nonfiction book to go through.
Or a huge series of articles on some trending topic.
Right, like AI or supply chain logistics. But today
we have a single piece of paper.
yeah,
And not even a full sheet of paper either. It's a fragment.
a tiny fragment.
We're basically looking at a digital scan of a physical yellowed newspaper clipping.
Barely 3 inches tall.
Exactly. Barely 3
It's
inches.
the kind of thing you'd find tucked into an old family Bible.
Oh, yeah. Or stuck in one of those heavy scrapbooks that smells like vanilla and dust.
Yes, exactly. And specifically, this clipping is from the Staunton, Virginia Evening Leader.
The Evening Leader.
And the date is Tuesday, November 5, 1957.
It is amazing how much weight a tiny scrap of newsprint can actually carry.
It really is.
When we study history, we usually get caught up in the macro stuff,
The big events.
right? The wars, the elections, the massive technological
The
breakthrough.
great men theory of history.
Exactly. But the real texture of life,
Yeah.
the actual sensation of living in a specific time and place, is found in these local social columns.
Because this is what people actually read.
First thing in the morning.
Or in this case, in the evening after work.
Right, because it's the Evening Leader. They weren't checking Twitter to see what was going on.
No, they definitely weren't.
They were checking this paper to see who visited who
Who got married?
is celebrating what milestone.
And our mission today for this deep dive is to basically play historical detective.
Which is the best kind of detective.
We have this one clipping titled Golden Wedding Anniversary Observed by Melville B. Vaidens. And from just these few short paragraphs, we are going to try to reconstruct an entire family's history
Or geography.
and really the social fabric of 1957 Virginia.
It is a totally fascinating exercise in decoding.
Because nothing is accidental, right?
Nothing in a newspaper in 1957 is accidental. The phrasing, the order of the names, the titles.
It's all a code.
It is. It's code for social standing, for family structure, and for community values.
Yeah.
If you know how to read it, this little blurb is like a holographic map of an entire era.
So let's set the scene for the listener. November 1957. What are we actually looking at here?
Broadly speaking.
Yeah, like what does the world feel like outside the window of this house in Staunton?
Well, just to place us in time, the anxiety level globally is actually quite high.
Sputnik.
Yes, Sputnik. The Soviet satellite had just launched a month prior in October.
So the space race is literally just kicking off.
People are literally looking up at the night sky wondering if there is a Russian metal ball beeping overhead.
That's a terrifying thought for them.
Very. Eisenhower is in the White House.
Right.
The post-war economic boom is in full swing, but the Cold War is freezing over.
So it's a time of really big, scary global shifts.
Exactly. But in Staunton, Virginia, on a Tuesday evening, the big news for this particular family isn't global politics.
No, it's a family milestone.
A milestone that was remarkably rare for the time. A golden wedding anniversary.
50 years.
50 years. We really need to pause on that for a second.
Yeah, we do.
Because our modern brains interpret 50 years differently than they did back then.
Today, hitting 50 years is amazing, but with modern medicine, it's not totally uncommon.
Right, but in 1957, the math was very different.
Because they got married in 1907.
Exactly, 1907. Think about what happened between 1907 and 1957.
A lot.
You have the 1918 flu pandemic,
Which was devastating.
wiped out a massive percentage of the population, specifically young adults.
Yeah.
Then you have World War I, you have World War II,
The Great Depression.
the Great Depression, and you just have the general lack of antibiotics until the 1940s.
Just staying alive was a huge challenge.
Just getting to old age was a challenge. The average life expectancy for a male born around the time these two were born was somewhere in the mid-40s.
Wow. Mid-40s.
So for both Melville and Grace to survive, to stay married, and to reach this date in 1957,
It was a demographic feat.
it was a statistical anomaly, really. It demanded a headline because it was a victory against the odds.
And they absolutely got a headline. Bold text. Golden Wedding Anniversary. Observed by Melville B. Vaidens.
The headliners.
Let's unpack them. The happy couple. Who exactly are they?
Well, we are introduced to Mr. Melville Brian Vaiden.
Often referred to down the page as M.B. Vaiden.
Right. And his wife, Mrs. Grace M. Sowell.
I really love that we get her maiden name here. Grace M. Sowell.
Yes, and that is a crucial detail for the era.
Why is that?
It's the last time we really see her individuality in the text. But listing the maiden name Sowell signals that her family line matters.
Ah,
In the South, especially who your people were before you got married, is a big part of your identity.
it tells the neighbors she comes from the South.
Exactly. It's placing her in the social strata.
But right off the bat, we also have a sense of deep formality.
Very formal.
This isn't written like Mel and Grace had a party. It is Mr. and Mrs. M.B. Vaiden.
Formal and structural. They are an institution at this point.
And they live at 636 Allegheny Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
I actually punched this into a map earlier just to see it. It's a residential street in Staunton.
Very classic.
Yeah, it looks like a classic leafy neighborhood with nice front porches.
And the text says they observed the anniversary Sunday evening at a family dinner at their home.
At their home.
That phrase, at their home, does a lot of heavy lifting there.
How so?
It signifies intimacy. Sometimes for a 50th, if you were trying to make a massive social statement or show off your wealth,
You rent a hall.
you might rent the ballroom at the Stonewall Jackson Hotel downtown. You might have a catered affair with a big band.
But they didn't do that,
No, they didn't. They had a dinner at 636 Allegheny Avenue.
which suggests a tight-knit circle.
It's warm. It's about the people in the room, not the spectacle of the event.
That makes sense.
It implies that the golden part of the anniversary is the relationship itself, not the gold plating on the silverware.
Let's look at the timeline of this marriage, because the dates given are very specific.
Yes, they are.
The clipping says they were married on November 4, 1907,
November 4, 1907.
in Richmond, Virginia.
Which is a significant distance from Staunton, by the way.
Yeah, Richmond is the capital. It's the big city.
So we already know they didn't start where they ended up. They are transplants to the Shenandoah Valley.
And the officiant of the wedding is listed too, the Rev. J.B. Hudson, D.D.
This is one of my absolute favorite details in these old clippings.
Really? Why?
The inclusion of the officiant's name 50 years later is such a specific mid-century flex.
But why list him? Does anyone in 1957 actually care who the minister was 50 years ago?
It validates the union. It's not just that they got married. They were married by a doctor of divinity.
That's what the D.D. stands for.
Exactly. Doctor of Divinity. It adds a layer of religious legitimacy and social propriety to the whole announcement.
Got it.
They're basically telling the reader, we didn't just run off to a justice of the peace.
We did it right.
We were married by a scholar, a man of God with high credentials. It anchors the marriage in the church.
It's almost like showing your receipts to the town. This is a legitimate, high-quality marriage.
In a society that heavily valued tradition and institutions, listing the date who married you is a way of saying we did this right from day one.
Now, here's a little discrepancy I noticed when I was reading through this.
Okay.
The paper is dated Tuesday, November 5. The anniversary date is November 4,
Right.
but the dinner was observed Sunday evening.
Let's look at the calendar for 1957 to clear that up. November 5 was a Tuesday.
Right.
That means the actual anniversary, November 4, was a Monday.
And nobody throws a big family dinner with out-of-town guests on a Monday night.
Exactly. Everyone has work or school on Tuesday morning, so they held the actual celebration on Sunday, November 3.
Which is just a very practical decision.
It is. You have family coming in from out of town, which we'll get to in a minute, so you have the big dinner on Sunday.
But it also highlights the lag time of print media back then.
Oh, absolutely. The party happens Sunday. The family probably writes up the details or calls the newspaper office on Monday morning.
Right.
The editor types it up, sets the lead type, and it finally runs in the Tuesday evening leader.
It's definitely not like Instagram where you post the photo while you're literally eating the cake.
No, this is the paper of record. It's official. It's slow journalism for a much slower time.
But that lag tells us something about the pace of information.
It does. The community found out about the party 2 days after it happened.
Let's move to the second section of our investigation here. The professional life and migration of M.B. Vaiden.
Let's do it.
Because this clipping gives us a surprisingly detailed resume for a 2-paragraph blurb.
It really does. It explicitly identifies him as retired.
So we're looking at the post-work phase of his life.
Right, but it also gives his former title, Plant Wire Chief.
Plant Wire Chief.
Oh.
I have to say, that title sounds heavy.
It does.
It sounds industrial and serious.
It's a fantastic title. It almost sounds like something out of a steampunk novel, doesn't it?
It totally does.
But in the context of the mid-20th century, this was a very serious technical role. He worked for the Chesapeake and Potomac Telephone Company.
Known to everyone locally as C&P Telephone, part of the massive Bell system.
Exactly. Ma Bell. We really have to understand what working for the telephone company meant in that era to get why this matters.
Okay, let's contextualize it.
In the first half of the 20th century, the telephone company was basically the high-tech sector of the day.
Like working for Apple or Google now?
Similar, yes, but it was also a regulated monopoly.
It was incredibly stable.
Beyond stable. It was a golden ticket. It offered a solid pension. It offered deep respect in the community.
If you worked for C&P, you were set.
You were solid middle class. You weren't going to get laid off on a whim.
So what does a plant wire chief actually do on a day-to-day basis?
We can infer a lot just from the title alone. In telecom speak, the plant refers to the physical infrastructure.
Like the actual poles and wires.
The poles, the copper cables, the switching centers, the lead sheathing underground. Everything physical that carries the voice is considered the plant.
And the wire chief part.
The wire chief was the boss of that local grid.
Okay.
He wasn't just a lineman climbing the poles, though he very likely started his career doing exactly that.
He worked his way up.
Right. The wire chief sat at the test board. He was the supervisor primarily responsible for the testing and maintenance of the lines.
So if a line went dead...
The wire chief was the one diagnosing it. He was the operational brain of the local network.
So if the lines went down in a massive snowstorm in the Shenandoah Valley, MB Vaiden was the guy making sure they came back up.
Precisely.
Huh.
He was the guy coordinating all the repair crews. It's a real position of authority.
Yeah, it is.
And think about the technological change he saw over his career.
Right, from 1907 to 1957.
He started his career presumably in the early 1900s. The telephone was still somewhat novel in many rural places back then.
It was almost a luxury item.
It was. But by the time he retires in 1957, the telephone is the central nervous system of American life.
And he watched that entire transformation happen from the inside.
He built it.
That's incredible. The clipping also gives us a big clue about their movement over the years.
Yes.
It says, Mr. and Mrs. Vaiden have resided in Staunton since 1934.
This is a great data point for our map. They marry in 1907 in Richmond. They land in Staunton in 1934.
That leaves a huge 27-year gap.
Right. Where were they for those 27 years?
We know they started in Richmond,
It is very likely that his career with Chesapeake and Potomac moved him around the state.
chasing the infrastructure.
Exactly. The plant wire chief is often a role that requires you to go where the network needs managing or expanding.
Oh, so he might have been fixing grids in Norfolk or Lynchburg or Charlottesville before finally landing in Staunton.
Very likely.
And 1934, by the way, that is not an insignificant year to pack up and move.
No, it is not. That is the absolute depths of the Great Depression.
Right.
The unemployment rate was staggering. Millions of people were losing their homes.
So moving in 1934, for most people,
Usually meant desperation. It meant you lost the family farm and were heading to California, or you were moving in with relatives because you couldn't pay rent.
but for the Vaidens,
Given his title and the incredible stability of the phone company, it was almost certainly a corporate transfer.
which puts them in a very, very lucky bracket for that decade.
The luckiest. While other people were standing in breadlines, the Vaidens were moving to a new city for a promotion or a new management assignment.
It really speaks to the immense security that the Bell system provided.
They were completely insulated from the worst of the economic collapse because everyone, businesses, governments, still needed the phones to work.
So they'd been in Staunton for 23 years by the time of this anniversary party.
Which means they are true locals now.
Definitely. 23 years is more than enough time to put down deep roots in a town like Staunton.
They've seen their children grow up and leave the house from that exact address on Allegheny Avenue.
They're established members of the community.
For sure.
Speaking of children, let's get into the guest list. This is section 3 of our Dive the Family Tree.
This is where the clipping really becomes a logic puzzle.
It really does. The writer gives us the stats up front, almost like a baseball box score.
Right. The couple have 3 children, 1 son and 2 daughters and 3 grandchildren.
Okay, three grandkids. Is that a relatively compact family for that era?
It is, actually. You often see families of 5, 6, 7 in that generation, especially if they came from rural farming backgrounds.
But 3 suggests what?
It suggests a more urban, perhaps upwardly mobile middle-class trajectory.
Okay.
They practiced family planning, or perhaps they just started later. They weren't running a farm where they desperately needed 12 hands to bring in the harvest.
So let's call the roll and figure out who is who. We need to find the 1 son and the 2 daughters in the guest list at the bottom of the clipping.
Let's start with the son. That's definitely the easiest one.
Reading from the text, Mr. and Mrs. Melville B. Vaiden Jr., Richmond.
There he is, the namesake, Melville Jr.
And he's living in Richmond, the city where his parents started out and got married.
Do you think he stayed there the whole time? Or did he move back later?
It's hard to say without pulling census records, but there's a really nice narrative symmetry to it.
There is. The father leaves Richmond to build the phone lines across the state, and the son is established back in the capital decades later.
He carries the name and the location of the family origin story.
Exactly. Okay, now we need to find the two daughters.
The text lists Mr. and Mrs. C.P. Hildebrand, Waynesboro, and Mr. and Mrs. Lewis E. Moore, Raleigh, NC,
Deductive reasoning tells us these are the two daughters.
because of the naming conventions.
Right. In 1957, a married woman's name in a social announcement is almost always presented as Mrs. Husband's name.
So the daughters of Melville and Grace are now Mrs. Hildebrand and Mrs. Moore,
It's interesting to see where they ended up geographically. Mrs. Hildebrand is in Waynesboro.
which is right next door to Staunton. It's just over the mountain, a very short drive.
She is the local daughter.
Every aging couple needs a local daughter.
It's so true. She's the one who likely helped cook the roast beef for this Sunday dinner.
She's the one who pops in on Tuesdays to check on them.
She's the daily support system.
And then Mrs. Lewis E. Moore is in Raleigh, North Carolina. That is much further afield.
Much further, that represents a totally different kind of life. She moved away.
Maybe for her husband's job, or maybe for school.
But she is distinctly the out-of-town daughter.
Now here's where the detective part gets a little tricky. There are other names listed.
Right. We have a Mrs. David W. Moore, Salem.
Yes. Who is Mrs. David W. Moore? Because she is listed completely separately from the Raleigh Moores.
But she has the exact same last name as the daughter in Raleigh Moore.
But a different husband's name. David W. versus Lewis E.
This implies a relationship on the in-law side.
So Lewis and David are probably brothers.
That is the strongest hypothesis here. Mrs. David W. Moore is likely the sister-in-law of the Vaiden daughter.
She's an in-law.
Yes. But look at where she is coming from, Salem. That's down near Roanoke. That's not exactly around the corner.
So she traveled a fair distance to come to her sister-in-law's parents' anniversary dinner.
Exactly. That speaks volumes about the closeness of these extended families.
The in-laws aren't just tolerated, they are fully integrated.
Mrs. David Moore is considered close enough family to make the trip from Salem for the Sunday dinner.
It suggests a very web-like family structure, not just a linear one.
Completely. And then we have the grandchildren. The stats at the top said 3 grandchildren.
Right. And looking at the Raleigh contingent, we see Mr. and Mrs. Lewis E. Moore, Kate Hamlin, and Gloria Vaiden, Raleigh, NC.
Kate Hamlin and Gloria Vaiden.
This is genuinely fascinating. Why are their last names different?
Right. If they are the children of Lewis and Mrs. Moore, they should be named Moore.
Unless they are married.
Possibly. But if they were married women, they would likely be listed as Mr. and Mrs. Husband's name.
Being listed as just Kate Hamlin and Gloria Vaiden suggests they are either unmarried young women or perhaps children from previous marriages. Or, wait, look at Gloria Vaiden. If her last name is Vaiden, she must be related to the son Melville Jr.
That is a great catch. If her last name is Vaiden, she is almost certainly the daughter of Melville Jr., the son.
But she is listed as being from Raleigh with the Moores.
But her father lives in Richmond.
So why is the Richmond granddaughter living down in Raleigh with her aunt?
Think about Raleigh in 1957. What is down there?
Colleges.
Exactly. NC State, Meredith College, Peace College. It is very, very likely that Gloria Vaiden is a college student.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
She's the granddaughter, the daughter of Melville Jr., but she is currently studying in North Carolina.
And since she's down in Raleigh, she hitched a ride with her aunt and uncle, the Moores, to get to the party in Staunton.
That is a very strong possibility. It paints a picture of practical family logistics.
The Raleigh car loaded up.
You have the aunt and uncle, and they swing by the dorm to pick up the niece.
And Kate Hamlin.
That one is the true mystery of the text. She is listed right there with the Raleigh group.
Is she a roommate of Gloria's who didn't have anywhere to go on a Sunday?
Maybe. Or is she a relative on the Moore side?
Or is she a granddaughter who is already married to a Mr. Hamlin who just couldn't make the trip?
The text just doesn't tell us.
It leaves us guessing.
It does. But her presence at the family dinner signifies she is welcome. It shows a blending of households.
Family lines aren't just straight up and down.
There's movement between the households, a niece living near an aunt, a friend or cousin joining the carpool.
It's messy in a very human, very realistic way.
Let's talk about that carpool, actually. This brings us to Section 4, Geography and Travel.
Getting to Staunton, Virginia for a dinner in 1957 isn't just hopping on a Zoom call or taking a high-speed train.
Not at all. Let's look at the map and the infrastructure of 1957.
We have guests coming from Waynesboro.
That's easy. Just over Afton Mountain, Practically neighbors. That's maybe a 15-minute drive.
Then Richmond. Melville Jr.'s family.
That's a couple of hours, a solid drive on Route 250 or maybe Route 60.
Because Interstate 64 doesn't exist yet.
Right. They are driving through the Piedmont on winding two-lane roads. A day trip, but a long one.
Salem. Mrs. David Moore.
That's down the valley, a decent drive, straight up Route 11, maybe 2 hours or so.
But the big commitment, the real haul, is Raleigh, North Carolina.
The Lewis E. Moore's Kate and Gloria.
That is a serious journey.
In 1957, the interstate highway system is just an absolute baby.
The Federal Aid Highway Act was just passed in '56, right?
Exactly. Construction had barely even started. To get from Raleigh to Staunton, you aren't setting cruise control at 75 miles per hour on a massive superhighway.
No, you are taking two-lane state highways the whole way.
You are driving Route 1, maybe cutting over to Route 29. You are driving directly through the center of every single small town along the way.
Danville, Lynchburg, Amherst.
You are stopping at traffic lights in every village square.
You are getting stuck behind slow tobacco trucks and farm equipment.
And think about the car itself.
A 1957 Chevy. Or a Ford.
It has a flat bench seat, no seatbelts, probably no air conditioning, though it's in November, so maybe that's okay.
But the suspension isn't what we have today. You feel every single bump in the road.
That is a 5 or 6 hour drive, easily.
Yeah.
One way.
And remember, they came for a Sunday dinner.
That really puts it in perspective.
It does. It shows the incredible gravitational pull of this event.
You don't make that drive 10 to 12 hours round trip in a weekend unless it is absolutely vital.
It signals deep respect. It signals that this 50th anniversary was a mandatory attendance event for the family.
Absolutely. The presence of the Raleigh contingent confirms that the Vaidens were the true patriarch and matriarch of a very devoted clan.
MB and Grace commanded that room.
If they were having a 50th, you got in the car. You drove the 6 hours. You ate the potatoes. You paid your respects.
It's a level of family obligation that honestly feels harder to sustain today.
We'd probably just do a FaceTime call today. Happy anniversary, Grandma.
But the physical effort of the travel was the gift.
The fact that they showed up in person was the proof of love.
I want to pivot to Section 5, the social norms. We've touched on this a bit already, but I really want to dig deeper into the Mrs. identity.
This is one of the most striking things for a modern reader looking at this document.
Because as we read these names, it's jarring to a modern ear.
We look at this text and we see a systematic erasure of women's first names.
It starts right at the top in the first sentence. Mrs. M.B. Vaiden.
She doesn't even get her name in the headline. She is framed as an extension of Melville.
Now, the writer does give us Grace M. Sowell in the second paragraph,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is a nod to her premarital identity.
But immediately after that, she goes right back to being Mrs. Vaiden for the rest of the piece.
But look at the daughters. Mrs. C.P. Hildebrand, Mrs. Lewis E. Moore, Mrs. David W. Moore.
We don't know their first.
Yeah, from this clipping at least.
We can guess, we can hunt through census records, but looking at this clipping alone, they are defined entirely by the men they married.
It's wild. Even the mother, Grace, is the only married woman who gets a first name in the entire text.
And compare that to Kate Hamlin and Gloria Vaiden.
Right, the unmarried ones.
Because they are presumably unmarried, they get to keep their first names. It's almost as if you trade your first name for the social status of Mrs.
It's a transaction.
In the eyes of a 1957 Society editor, yes, it is. We have to be careful not to judge this purely by 2026 standards, though.
Fair point.
In 1957, being Mrs. Lewis E. Moore was a major status symbol.
It wasn't just seen as oppression.
No, it was an achievement in that specific social context. It told the community who your protector was, who your provider was. It was a badge of security.
Like saying, I am Mrs. Moore, I have a household, I have arrived.
Exactly. It signaled that you were part of a successful economic unit, but for us today, trying to find them in history, it's a huge hurdle.
It's a massive roadblock for genealogists.
It is. You have to work backwards from the husband. You can't just search for Alice Vaiden or Sarah Vaiden.
You have to find who they married to even know they exist in the paper.
It essentially hides the women behind the men in the public record.
The other norm we mentioned was the religious aspect, the D after the minister's name.
Doctor of Divinity. It's a credential.
Why include that 50 years later?
Because it elevates the memory of the wedding. It's not just that they got married, they were married by a scholar, a leader.
It suggests that the Vaidens deeply value education and religious authority.
They aren't just listing a name, they are listing a credential. It adds real gravity to the anniversary announcement.
Our marriage was blessed by a doctor of divinity.
It makes the foundation of the marriage feel rock solid to anyone reading it.
Which after 50 years, it clearly was.
Exactly. The proof is in the pudding. Or, in this case, the Sunday dinner. They built something that lasted half a century through wars and massive depressions.
Let's zoom out a bit as we wrap up. We've looked at the names, the map, the job. What is this so what here?
Why does this one clipping matter?
Yeah, why should the listener care about a random family dinner in 1957?
Think about what this clipping truly represents. It is a proof of life.
A proof of life.
For one Sunday evening in November 1957, these people were all in a room together.
I could practically picture it. The smell of the roast beef in the oven, the clinking of the good silverware.
The smoke from likely cigarettes because everyone smoked indoors in 1957.
The sound of Melville telling stories about the old telephone lines.
The sound of the college girl Gloria telling her grandmother about her classes down in Raleigh.
This clipping proves that specific moment happened.
It captures a family at a very specific intersection. The parents are retired, the kids are grown, the grandkids are becoming adults.
It's a snapshot of a successful American life in the mid-century.
Migration for work stability and retirement children who launched their own lives but returned to pay respect.
It is the American dream as it was promised in 1957.
And it's tactile. I keep coming back to that. This was physically cut out of a paper with scissors.
Somebody actively saved this.
That's the other thing. This image exists today because someone, maybe Grace, maybe one of the daughters clipped it and put it in a scrapbook or a Bible.
They said, this matters. I want to remember this.
It makes you wonder about our own digital footprint, doesn't it?
That's the big question, isn't it?
We have thousands of photos on our phones. We have Facebook posts wishing people happy anniversary.
But will any of they exist in 67 years?
That is the terrifying question. If you have a 50th anniversary dinner today, you might tag everyone in a photo on Instagram.
But will that server farm still be running in 2090?
Will the file format even be readable by future machines? There is a durability to ink on paper that we are definitely losing.
This tiny clipping survived attics moves humidity.
And because it survived, we know that Melville was a plant wire chief.
We know Grace was a cell.
We know they lived on Allegheny Avenue. If this hadn't been clipped out, that information might have just evaporated into the ether.
It's a haunting thought, but also a really beautiful one. That we can reach back and touch this moment because of a 5-cent local newspaper.
It reminds us that we are all leaving a trail. The real question is, how permanent is it?
So here is our final challenge to you, the listener.
Think about the clipping of your own life.
If someone finds a summary of your week 70 years from now, what does it actually say?
Who is sitting at your table?
And did you bother to write it down on something that will last?
And did you spell all the names right?
Exactly. Make sure you get those credentials in there. List the DD.
Always list the DD.
It has been an absolute pleasure unpacking the Vaiden archive with you today. It's amazing what you can find in just 3 inches of newsprint.
It's the whole world if you look close enough.
Thanks for listening. Keep digging. We'll see you on the next